Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. I just got done watching Tucker Carlson's podcast featuring Dave Smith, and the level of honesty, courage and self-reflection both these guys displayed during their conversation truly was impressive. What particularly stood out to me was their condemnation of the horrific dehumanization of Muslims by various groups in pursuit of sinister political and personal agendas. This growing trend of portraying Muslims as subhuman, lacking in morality, intelligence and basic humanity due to our religion or at times even our genetics, not only normalizes verbal and psychological abuse against us, but also paves the way for violence that worryingly spares neither women nor children. Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson highlighted figures like Douglas Murray and Sam Harris as key instigators of this narrative, among many others, including politicians and media personalities. If you watch the full podcast, you'll see in detail how Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith thoroughly dismantle both Sam Harris and Douglas Murray, exposing them for the petty, sensitive charlatans that they are. Let's roll the clip.
The amount of anti-Muslim bigotry, anti-Palestinian bigotry, dehumanizing of the entire Palestinian people.
Sam Harris is engaged in for 20 years.
Yeah, that's right. And then they're going to turn around and be like, oh my God, there's all this dehumanizing bigotry out there. It's like, yeah, none of that is good. Like none of that is good. It's not good for you. It's not good for the conversation. It's just bad. You don't want to dehumanize an entire group of people ever.
Human beings like human beings.
Yes. You know, and that should be fairly obvious. But also, I will say, you know, Donald Trump, who I voted for and supported in this last election, he would turn in the debate and call Joe Biden a Palestinian. He said this about Chuck Schumer, too. He's basically a Palestinian. You're like, whoa. And for all the people who have been screaming bigotry for the last decade, no one ever thought to be like, hey, you know, that's not like an insult.
I know.
It's not an insult to call someone a Palestinian. I've met lots of Palestinians who are really great people. There's nothing wrong with them. And again, like if a presidential candidate ever like stood up in the debate and went, this guy's a real Jew, we'd all be like, whoa, what the hell is that?
I know.
You don't get to say that in a political debate.
There are also a lot of Christian Palestinians, a lot of wonderful Muslim Palestinians. So I hate that.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible on any side. You don't dehumanize people like that.
Yeah.
What's his name? I'm blanking. What's the congressman in Florida? Randy Fine? Is Fine his last name? I don't know, but did you see the stuff he's posted?
Seems like a nut job.
Oh my God. It's just, you know, so again, okay. You want to talk
he's
about
the one who's like, we want to kill all their children or something?
Well, someone basically like, I think someone tweeted like a picture of a dead Palestinian baby and he said like, good. We need more or something like that. It was something really close to that. I don't want to get this wrong.
Who could vote for someone like that?
Well, Trump endorsed him after that.
After he said it was good that a baby was dead?
Look, there's a lot of this stuff. It's how you get Nikki Haley signing bombs that are about to go get dropped on women and children. You're like, I'm sorry, that's fucking sickening. Like, what the hell is that? What are we, a part of some death cult or something? And so, of course, then, you know, Douglas Murray's book is like democracies and death cults or whatever. You know, there's a little contradiction there.
What a higher IQ you have than Douglas Murray. It just cracks me up. And that's such a deep contradiction that I doubt he's aware of.
I would like to sit here and look down on the Muslim world. That's what I would like to do because my society is so much better. And if anything, I'd be lecturing you. You guys got to do liberty better. You guys don't really even understand how a free society works. I'd like to be there. That's actually what confirms, that's what confirms my bias is like stuff like that. The problem is I just know too much about our government and what our government's done to these people. What are we talking about here? You can't then turn around and go, look at them. They're a bunch of Islamists. I insist on one standard for everything. If you're going to say Hamas is a death cult, what the hell is the U.S. government? What is the Israeli government? You get to sit here as my government has in the last 25 years destroyed Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, and now Gaza. That's what my government's done. I don't get to call someone else a death cult. I'd like to just look down at them as a death cult, but sorry, we're the biggest purveyors of violence in the world. Anytime that you're like dehumanizing an entire group of people, setting the stage to then justify some type of brutal aggression that could not be justified without dehumanizing them first, you are participating in the same exercise that is the reason throughout all of human history that we've had genocides and wars and ethnic cleansing campaigns and just horrible atrocities. Don't do that.
We're not allowed to do that. Yeah. I mean, you play with fire when you do that. And I've stayed silent a lot as I've seen it happen, and I feel shame thinking back on it.
Credit to both these guys for calling out the massive amount of despicable anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian bigotry people engage in these days. Tucker was right to point out that people like Sam Harris have been doing so for decades now, profiting off the harm they cause other human beings through disgusting religious discrimination. Dave was also right to call out those who weaponize anti-Semitism to justify their prejudice against Muslims, arguing that it pales in comparison to the widespread anti-Islam hatred prevalent today. And I totally agree that neither is okay. But like he said, with politicians like Donald Trump using the word Palestinian as a slur, and Nikki Haley signing explosives that were used to wipe out entire civilian populations, along with Randy Fine encouraging and celebrating the killing of Palestinian children, and that's just a few examples amongst countless others. It's clear that Islamophobia is a much bigger issue at this moment in time. Dave Smith made the point that if the roles were reversed and it was Jewish people on the receiving end of such bigotry, there would be an uproar, which again just goes to show how vastly normalised his hatred of Arabs and Muslims has become. Just hearing Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith say positive things about Palestinians and Muslims, addressing us as normal human beings, was such a refreshing contrast to the poisonous opinions we hear so frequently expressed online. The simple gesture of acknowledging our humanity as equal to that of others was truly moving for me as a Muslim. Both Tucker and Dave also brilliantly highlighted the utter hypocrisy of Douglas Murray in writing a book called Democracies and Death Cults, portraying America and Israel as democracies and Palestine as the latter, when in fact both Israel and the US are responsible for much more death in the Middle East. Tucker was spot on for calling out Douglas Murray for being a walking contradiction that is intellectually not on par with Dave Smith. I think we can safely say Murray lacks in the moral department when compared to Dave also, as we all saw when Murray humiliated himself during their debate on Joe Rogan. Again, I urge you guys to watch the full conversation between Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith, as they did not hold back when ripping Douglas Murray and Sam Harris to shreds. Dave Smith also nailed it when he pointed out that neither the American nor Israeli governments hold any moral superiority over the Muslim world, especially given the suffering and oppression they've caused in Islamic nations, citing Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, and Palestine as just some examples. You could also add Lebanon, Sudan, and Pakistan to the list, and as Dave said, for people to then turn around and generalise Muslims around the world as Islamists after the US and Israel have been the biggest instigators of extremism in the Middle East is disgustingly contradictory, disingenuous, and unfair. What we should do is be consistent and stand against all forms of extremism, regardless of the background of the perpetrators. Also, respect to Tucker for not only expressing regret for having once taken a similar stance before discovering the truth after leaving the mainstream media, but also for admitting that he feels shame for having stayed silent about it. What counts is that he's talking about it now on his platform, so credit where credit is due. I have nothing but admiration for anyone who is introspective enough to admit when they're wrong and actively change in order to represent the truth. Once again, Dave accurately broke down the purpose behind the dehumanisation of Palestinians and Muslims in general through billion-dollar propaganda machines, and that is to justify genocide, apartheid, and ethnic cleansing. Worryingly, the ripple effect is not only evident online on social media platforms, but also at a local everyday level, where people are adopting these hateful views and acting on them without realising they've been unconsciously programmed. These are scary times we're living in. Stay safe out there, and please keep in mind we're all human, so let's treat each other well. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this. And remember to like, subscribe, and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.